Hello everybody, today we're grilling a whole turkey for Thanksgiving. Open fire, of course, with our beautiful tagwood. So first, we're gonna create a little nest with a little oil to help us start the fire, to help it ignite. And of course, some dry leaves. As we woke up today and it was a rainy day in Miami, to vary, you know, a little difference. As a precaution, I'm gonna make a double oily nest. And then something important also, I try to put the paper and everything all the way to the end, so when I put the charcoal, I'm not crushing it and still allowing the airflow. Okay, and again, a third one, but this one we put it underneath so it helps getting everything going. Okay, so now, turkey time. We've been brining since last night. It's been like 18 hours of brining. Making the brine with the best chimichurri by Frugoni. Start with a little pre-mix. We add Maldon salt. It's always better because it's sea salt. Now to make it very traditional Argentinian, bay leaf, and fresh from the soil, oregano. And last but not least, for the heat, a little cayenne chilies. For an earthy flavor, rosemary. And now we leave that simmer for a few minutes. Okay, once your brine boils, go straight to the container. And now it's the moment of dropping the chicken in the brine. Taking all the gizzards, 21-pound bird, straight in the brine until tomorrow. Bye-bye. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna clean it a little bit. Take, for example, this excess fat that I don't want it. So I'm gonna start trimming the tip of the wing. Always make sure there's no fingers on your recipes. Okay, so now I'm gonna turn it. So here you have the spine. I'm gonna get rid of the spine, and then I'm gonna use this spine, the tip of the wings, for our gravy. So also with this technique, it's not only gonna be faster, but also it's better, so we can, when we spread it with our brine, while it's cooking, all the juices can really penetrate. Now I pull the big guns, the cleaver. So we're slowly getting the spine out. Now we can see how the brine penetrated. You can see that the meat, it's a little bit clearer. There's all the spices inside, so that's an indication we did a good job with the brine. So this, the last detail, trimming a little bit the excess fat. And then we need to cut a little bit the chest here so it really flattens out. So we turn it around and yeah. So now I'm gonna grab our asador, make sure it's not hot. So the idea now is putting the chest on the top place and the leg on the bottom, because the legs, we want them to be a little higher inner temperature than the breast, because the legs can take a little bit more heat than the breast. So the breast, ideally, the ideal temperature is 165. So we make sure there's no diseases or parasites, you know. And then the legs, they can go all the way up to 175, but also 165 will make it work. Something very important also when you're building is to try to do as much pressure as you can, because the tighter it is, the more it's gonna hold. There we go. And we're gonna start an hour on the bones, always. So now we leave it there. Check our temperature. I measure the temperature and I always put my hand. And right now I have to be able to hold it for like 5-8 seconds. We want to start giving it a nice heat, but not burning it, because we're going to be cooking it for like 2.5 hours, 3 hours. So we're going to go nice and slow. We'll always check the temperature everywhere. And a great thing also with this beautiful system is that there's 2 ways to regulate the heat. One is controlling the heat directly, but sometimes you know, goes a little out of control. So we can move it and give it different stages. So if it's too hot, I'll stand it. If it's not hot enough, I'll take it down, closer to the heat, play with the ambers, putting them on the bottom so I can get that heat to the legs. So it's a beautiful way of cooking. Okay, so now I got a few pieces of the quebracho going. So I'm gonna place them on the bottom here of the bird so I can get not only heat, but I can get that smoky flavor that this beautiful wood gives. You see how smoky that is? If you could smell it, Okay, so now we're gonna start making the broth for the gravy. So I have the neck and the spine and the tip of the wings. So a little bay leaves. I have some celery, carrots for some flavor. A few garlic cloves. An onion. I'll just do half an onion. Roughly chopped. Water to cover. Put the lid. And straight to the fire. Now look at this. What's made for that. Okay, so now we're gonna do the brine for the turkey so we can keep basting it and add more flavor to it. So I'm gonna use garlic, onion, lemon, just gonna use the skin, some fresh oregano, dry thyme, a generous amount of Maldon salt. Not only seasons, but it has also a lot of good nutrients and minerals. Water, of course. And then what I'm gonna do, make a little sprig of rosemary, tie it. So I'm gonna use this to splash the brine on the turkey. Now this to the heat. So now we're gonna get our big grill hot. So now we can see what's so important, the door, to keep everything inside there, nothing escaping. Okay, and something also very nice about the tagwood, you see the poker hole? You see that little hook? Perfect. So you make sure it's safe. You don't want that door opening on you. Okay, now I have this beautiful ribeye from Corte Argentino. Beautiful Argentinian beef. One of the best you can get here in the States. So as we're cooking a whole piece, a big piece, we have to go heavy on the salt. Anyways, this salt, it's gonna fall a little bit. But again, big crystals of salt really helps with the seasoning of meat. So what I'm gonna do now is tie it with rosemary and slowly cook it. So we can get that nice oils and fragrance from the rosemary. So a great way to tie this and not having to use your little, so it doesn't go back. So instead of doing one twist, you do two. So when you tie it, it stays there. You see? So it's not like the typical putting your finger. So it helps a little bit. And then what I do, and now we're gonna hang it. So the beautiful thing about to hang it is that I'm not gonna have to poke the meat and, you know, open wounds. So we keep all those beautiful juices. Now we're using the roofing grill to hang the meat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So taking advantage of the rotation of the asador, take it, look it, make sure. So now I see that I get more heat here than here. So now I'm gonna move the ambers a little bit so I can get a better even cook. There we go. I'm gonna splash the turkey with our rosemary. So the brine not only adds salt to it, but also adds moisture and a lot of flavor. Also, you want the brine to be warm or hot. You don't want a cold brine because then it's gonna lower the temperature of your cooking. Beautiful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a good temperature. It's not ripping hot, but it's hot enough to go slowly cooking, coloring it. So I'm gonna use the warming rack to slowly get them up to temp. And then when we wanna eat them, we'll just give them a nice mark. Blood sausage, on the other way, the blood sausage, it's already cooked. So now I'm just warming it up. And then when we wanna eat it, a quick flash sear. And that's it. Always making sure it's not too hot. So I can easily keep my hand there for more than 10 seconds. So that's great temperature. And now we have a very special guest. People from Campo Grande, from Spain. They send us this Iberico pork. We all know Iberico pork is like the Wagyu of pork. With this beautiful piece, the only thing I'm gonna do, again, season with just salt. Especially this type of pork, it's so delicious and it has its own flavor that the rack only needs just a little salt. So this ones, I'm gonna start cooking them from the bone first. So I'm gonna put more heat over this side, and then I'm gonna flip it because I really wanna cook I don't wanna take any of the skin, nothing, leave it just how it is. So now I'm gonna look to start a very low temperature. So I'm gonna count up to all the way up to 8. So for example, now I put it here and I notice that of course from the brazier you get a lot of heat. So you don't wanna start cooking this side and then this one. So I'm just gonna turn it, and again, so the bones start cooking. Another beautiful cut from Corte Argentinos, cup of rum, or also known as picanha. One of my favorite things about this cut is the fat that it has, the fat cup, that really adds flavor and helps keeping it moist. You see the colors already kind of like starting to melt. It's beautiful, beautiful fat that we're gonna eat. And then again, salt, not too heavy, but just enough salt to season. I always put heavier on the fat cup because some of that fat is just gonna fall. Nice, look at those crystals. And now we go to the grill. So again, the same amount of heat that for the rack. You count to 8. Yeah, that's good. And now I'm gonna put the fatty part closer to the brazier because it's gonna cook slower this part than this, so it's getting more heat from everywhere. And there we go. Okay, now we're gonna just take a little peek on how our meats are going. Oh, nice, you see? Slowly rendering. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. That's gonna be nice and crispy and delicious and juicy. There we go. Beautiful. Let's slowly get in there. Amazing. So also today I'm gonna be cooking mashed potatoes and sweet potatoes. I'm gonna cook them over here in the charcoal so it gets that also smoky flavor. Look, the poker's perfectly made. cook all those beautiful ambers that we need. So I'm just gonna make us a little bit of ambers so I can cook the sweet potatoes and potatoes. What I like to do with the potatoes, I like to stab them. And the idea of stabbing them is now I'm gonna drop them in the brine solution that I have, so we start getting that seasoning penetrating. And then I'm gonna put it in that little bed of ambers I did, so I can smoke it and slowly cook it. Then if everything works out, the skin is gonna be crispy, and we're gonna be able to snack on that crispy skin. And then sweet potatoes, I'm just gonna cook them, no holes, no nothing, because I wanna keep the skin on. I want the sweet potato to cook with its own juices. And next, a whole squash. I'm gonna cook it whole, and then when it's cooked, I'm gonna take the top off and make a cheese fondue out of it. So the squash, I'm gonna add a little ambers around and a little bit on top, so it cooks kind of like in an oven situation. Okay, now 2 hours in, we're gonna start looking at everything. How's it going? So the top round, picanha, you see it's already getting juices on the other side, so that means that it's ready to be flipped. Let's see that fat. Oh, nice. That's poetic, how we would say it. Let's see the pork. Beautiful. But the pork can go a little longer. We can always check the other side. If it feels cold, needs more time, let's take advantage and look at the turkey. Now I'm touching with the back side of my hand to see the temperature, and the legs are getting warm, so the idea is to get the heat almost going kind of like halfway of the meat, so you feel it kind of like warmish. But for example, up here, the breasts, a little in the colder side, so that's why I'm gonna take advantage and take it one step lower, so it gets more direct heat to make sure it's cooked nice and even. So taking advantage of the rotation and that we can lower, I'm gonna also move it, add more charcoal, and then lower it so we can start getting the heat a little bit higher. So first, I'm gonna take it out of here, lower it one number, and before putting it back, I'm gonna add more charcoal. And now, put it back there. Take the temperature, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's a little higher up here than down, so we're perfect now. So remember that we're making our turkey broth over here for our gravy. I'm gonna just try it to see where we're at. Look at that color, starting to get flavor. Nice, good. Nice turkey flavor. So we're good. Maybe 1 hour more simmering and it's gonna be delicious. Okay, so now the pork is ready to be flipped. I touch it, it's warm to the touch. Let's see how it looks. Look at that. So now, yes, I'm gonna turn it so I start receiving heat from the bottom and from the side. And then this, yeah, that's beautiful. I'm just gonna put it on the side. So I'm gonna let it rest, and then we're gonna cut it in a little bit. Also, chorizos are ready. I'm gonna put them down there. And now I'm gonna add a little bit more heat, more fire, so we get them nice and charred. And also, we're gonna look at our turkey to see how it's going. Back side, yeah, it's nice and warm. Nice. Look at that. So now, again, taking advantage of the 360 move of the asador, it makes my life easier and I don't burn myself. Remember, safety first, because if I have to do it over there, I'm definitely gonna get burned with the heat. So now, I'll flip it, 180. Now it's time for the skin. Measure the heat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, good. 1, 2, 3, 5, beautiful. So I'm gonna add a little more ambers underneath the chorizos, get them nice and crispy. We lower the grill. We want it hot now. 1, 2, 3, nice. Okay, now I'm gonna turn the ribeye. And remember guys, as I said before, safety first always. Heat resistant gloves is a great tool to have for the grills. Slowly rendering the fat. We're not looking any searing yet. 1, 2, 4, 5, beautiful. And now let's see how this is going. Nice. Finger licking good. See the chorizos? Oh yeah. So now that I'm keeping the picanha warm, so it's resting, but it's not losing the temperature. So this is perfect to leave things resting or to slowly cook them. Or, you know, like the blood sausage is already cooked, so we just need to warm it up so we can eat it. And always something very important about Argentinian grilling is always keep your fire going. So now we see we have a lot of ambers, but you get distracted 1 second and they're gone. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more wood, more quebracho. Remember, for flavor, that smoky, rich flavor, we're gonna get it thanks to it. Look at that drip. So that's why it's so important to make a brine. The brine helps keeping the moist inside. Because see, when it's cooking, everything's bubbling inside and it's pushing everything out, but the brine helps retain that liquid. Okay, now that our picanha is ready, what a better way to enjoy it with a delicious wine. Gran Enemigo from our friend Ale Vigil. Ale Vigil is a great winemaker. He makes delicious wines. And also they serve it in the restaurant Casa Vigil on Buena Vista. And also we have this beautiful glass wines from Casa Vigil. And also you will never enjoy a nice asado, a nice glass of wine without company. That's the whole beauty of making an Argentinian asado. Sharing it with friends and family. So now I'm gonna grab our picanha. So now I'm gonna grate the cheese so I can stuff it in the squash so we can make a beautiful fondue. So now we're gonna get our little brazier hot and warm so we can put our food there and keep it nice and warm. It's just a little bit, not too much. We're gonna get our chops from Iberico pork from Campo Grande. Let's look at this beauty, nice and crispy. Oh, look at that. So now we're just gonna follow the bone. There we go. Okay, now we're 4 hours in cooking our 21-pound turkey. So I'm gonna check at the temperature. I'm gonna take it out, rotate it. We're looking for 175 on the legs, on the thighs. That's fine. We're a bit over, but though that's the thing about cooking with the elements, with open fire. And then 165 on the breast. Okay, we're good. Okay, so now I'm gonna stand it up as vertical as I can and let it rest for like 20, 25 minutes. And the idea of letting it rest is so the turkey has its time to reabsorb all the juices. Okay, now we're gonna make our mashed potato. What I'm gonna do, our potatoes, cut them in half, and then I'm gonna scoop all that potato and make my mash. Now I'm gonna smush the potatoes a little bit, and then a healthy amount of butter. Nice buttery. Okay, so now we're gonna grab our squash, our cheese fondue instead of squash, and we're gonna eat it with sausage, with chorizo. So now I'm mixing all the cheeses with this squash puree. So we end up with this beautiful cheese and squash fondue. Always safety first. Squash is very hot. See how high I can go? Nice. So now I'm gonna grab the chorizos from the grill, slice them. Nice and cheesy. So now don't think that we forgot about our ribeye, but now we have to give it that nice sear. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get the grill nice and hot. So what I'm looking now, be able to 1, 2, 3. That's it, less than 3 seconds, so it's nice and ripping hot. So I'm gonna dip my ribeye in the brine. And then give it a nice sear. So we slowly smoked it up there for like 4 hours, kind of. Slowly cooking, getting that smoky flavor, rendering the fat. And now a quick hydration, nice sear. Oh yeah, that's what we're looking for. The sound of happiness. Now the ribeye is ready. Hear that? Beautiful. 4 hours. Look how tender that is. You can see it. Okay, now I'm gonna make the gravy. I'm gonna start the base, making a roux. Roux is equal parts butter and flour. With the roux, you always wanna make sure the flour is cooked. And then, you know, people like it a blonde roux or a little darker roux. I like it like that. I'm gonna add the broth. Now we just need to boil this. Once it breaks, the boils is gonna thicken it up a little bit, not too much. Okay, so now I'm gonna work on the garnish for the sweet potatoes. Something very simple. But going back to our roots, straight fresh parsley leaves, and then some finely sliced onions. Just gonna use a little bit of it. Throw away the onions and the parsley, and in a second I'm gonna season it with a little olive oil and salt and put it on top as a garnish for my sweet potatoes. Okay, now turkey's ready, well rested, still warm. So what I'm gonna do is gonna take apart the asador. Okay, taking everything apart, very gently grab the turkey. Yes. Now let's see the other side. Nice. It's just falling apart. Nice and crunchy. Okay, now let's carve it. So first, I'm gonna take the leg off. Just a little bit of dark meat. Now, the breast. Beautiful. So, sweet potato, open in half, mashed potato, a little parsley, some red onions, salt, lemon juice, olive oil. Now the gravy.